Welcome to this Friday's
Hi.
Travelin' Young and Brisket's down
He's
here.
finally here. Doesn't he look so handsome? He's been groomed.
Couple comments. So when I was with Maya, I mentioned my rum was gone. That was just in that specific glass at that moment. So just so you know,
We have more rum.
I have more rum.
Yeah.
And specifically, the rum I was drinking and I will be drinking today is this super good. I gotta put you're the focus point. So is this really good Ron Zacapa XO that I bought.
Yes.
I had it for the first time when I was in Guatemala. I've been to Guatemala a couple times, but then I had it. These I bought actually when I was passing through Panama because of the Panama airport. They were pretty cheap, so
yeah.
I had two, and one of them's halfway through. So I will be drinking some more Ron Zacapa, which is one of the best rums out there. I will try some of that Danish rum though, for sure. Because I am a rum drinker.
Yeah, he does love rum.
But that's not what this video is about.
No, it's not.
No. And before we start, I want to say one other thing, which is we're going to be making some slight changes to the schedule of when we release videos and maybe even the frequency slightly because we've had a lot of interesting life changes, all for the positive.
Yeah, everything's good. Don't worry.
So I'm starting a new job in a couple days.
Yeah.
Miranda's starting a new job. Anyway, we're going to do a live stream pretty soon and talk about all this stuff. But in the meantime, if you don't I usually don't say stuff about subscribers, but if you don't currently subscribe, it'd be great if you did because we want to make sure you stay notified when we release new videos because it might not be exactly the same as it has been. But I promise you the quality will continue to be good and hopefully get better.
Hopefully get better.
And we'll talk about that in a live stream. But anyway, if you haven't subscribed, definitely do so you don't miss out as we kind of make some slight changes to our schedule because we've done 157 videos. And my butt is sore from sitting in the editing chair.
A lot. We have a lot going on.
Right, Brisket? Okay, now on to the topic of the video, which is travel. And we thought
why are we called Travelin' Young?
Yeah, we thought that now it feels like things are starting to, let's not say it's normal. It may never be normal. But it does feel like the spring and the summer, it'll be possible to travel a little bit more again.
We just traveled. I'm traveling for work. You might be traveling for
and we
work,
just took a trip over week 7 ourselves. So we thought it'd be fun to talk about travel and why it matters to us. And first of all, where did this name Travelin' Young come from?
It's because that's what we're known for and we have been for years.
Yeah, travel has always been
a huge part of our life.
A big component. I think, so as a kid growing up, we would travel just to visit family, my grandparents who lived in different cities than where we lived. And while I'm grateful at all the time I got to spend with them, my dad's parents, that set of grandparents lived to be 100. I got to spend a lot of time with them. We rarely took vacations elsewhere, just somewhere else. So when we got married, we said early on,
that was really important.
It's important. We want to visit family, but we also want to at least take one trip a year, just us, plus what eventually became Maya, so that we can be together as a family, traveling and experiencing things together. And that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah. And I think we got bit by the bug on our honeymoon because we, up and decided to go to Egypt on our honeymoon, which was super unusual for Americans.
Especially in their early 20s.
Especially in their early 20s, and really hadn't left the United States.
A little bit, not much.
I think you had been to London, I had been to the Bahamas, and that was about it. And I think that experience was just it was a lot to take in, but we did it. And I think from then on, we were just if we can do that, we can do anything.
We realized anything was possible.
Yeah.
So our top 5, now I'm getting to the title of this. The top 5 things that are awesome about travel, and I hope you guys travel. Number 5, moving backwards, is it gives you a chance to learn about both the past and history, which if you've watched our videos as we travel around Denmark, you'll see
we're history nerds.
Super into history. And also present and relating what's happening present day somewhere with things you hear about in the news or people you know.
Or just how it's changed in the present times.
Yeah, and comparing it to your own life. I mean, just the past and the present. And it's so one of the things that I think is great, but it's so hard to absorb everything before you go on a trip. So many times we learn something and we leave and then we read and learn more after we've been somewhere.
And we're like, oh geez, now we got to go back.
Yeah, it's so much fun though. So our number 5 is just the chance to learn about the past and about the present.
Yeah. Number 4 is eating new foods. This is our favorite thing. Unless it's the French andouillette, never eat that. That's
but you
disgusting.
did eat it once to know.
I did, and now I know. Don't ever eat that. But we've tried so many new foods, especially you. You're quite a picky eater. I was always a very adventurous eater, and I've always been very proud of you. You always do try to do new things when we go to places.
I've gotten better. So just a few days ago, we were in France during week 7, and we were with my friend Yavadi, who I've known for many years. And her and I traveled with work before. And one time we were in Singapore, and she's like, "I want to go to street food markets in Singapore." I'm like, I don't want to like get sick and poop weird or something. I have no interest in that at all. And so I wouldn't do it with her. And then she was annoyed at me, and she got something, and I got like super safe food. And then years later, Maya and I went to Singapore, and we ate almost exclusively at hawker centers and all these street things, because I'm like, and we went to Malaysia and ate at this like if you stuck this place in the middle of Denmark, it'd be super sketchy. Yeah. It was like a fried oyster omelet thing that was so good, and it's like, it also gives you a chance to like see how you've grown a bit as a person, to like be willing, and all of a sudden when you're somewhere new, I'm willing to do things that I normally wouldn't do, like at home, and try new things and new foods, like we do on the channel here.
Surprising, like it's you look at something and you think that looks disgusting, and then you eat it and it's actually really good. Like beef tongue, we've had beef tongue before, and I actually really like that.
So number 3 is getting to just see new places.
Yes.
And I think the important part of this is knowing that sometimes that travel might be super far away. Sometimes it might just be a new place that isn't that far away. And all the travel we've done in Denmark, a lot of the places have been like you could almost do in a day, because it's not super far away, but it's super new, and like getting to kind of put on a different like set of glasses and lenses into a new place and look at it differently than even locals would. And it's just the chance to see new places is, to me, like the architecture and the colors and the smells and all that stuff is just so fun to kind of like get all your senses moving in a totally different way.
And that's something that, because we did always travel a lot internationally. We did travel, domestically as well, but we really focused on international travel. And that's honestly out of reach for a lot of Americans. And, when we would talk to people about travel, I would always say, you don't have to go someplace fancy. You don't have to go abroad. I'm very big into discovering your own backyard, and I think that that's really important. And I think it's really important for people to understand that you can have these wonderful, memorable experiences, and it doesn't have to involve a plane or going someplace really far away.
But I do think the big part leads to number 2, which is getting to grow closer to whoever you're with, and that does require maybe getting out of your house.
Yeah.
So maybe staying at least in a hotel or at an Airbnb or at a campsite or something, because there's this dependency that happens when you're with somebody in a different place and you have to depend on that person. Now that dependency is multiplied significantly when you're in a brand new country, a new culture, a new language, and you have to like, depend on each other just to communicate, because maybe you can't even communicate with other people.
Yeah.
I remember this great story when we were in Rome that time. This is like many 19 years ago.
Which Rome story you're gonna tell?
We went to Rome and we did this day trip to Pompeii, and we were in this bus with a tour bus, a bunch of obnoxious Americans.
Yeah.
So guess what?
Super obnoxious.
I get that we're American. I'm not afraid to say that there's a lot of obnoxious American tourists, and this felt like the Soprano family. Like just
it
like
really was.
Like, hey,
he's not
let's
lying.
go to Italy.
It was like traveling with Tony Soprano.
And they were super annoying, and we did not want people to know we were American and associate us with these folks, and then they would just like latch on and start talking to us. So we were like writing notes back and forth because we didn't want to just like outwardly speak English to each other for people to know, because then they'd be like, oh, they're like the Sopranos over there.
Yeah.
And so it's I don't even know why I told that story.
Well,
I think it's just the dependency we had on each other.
Together.
Like, we didn't even want to talk out loud. We had to write to each other. We were so dependent on one another because we didn't want to speak.
And I think for us, we've had so many situations where we're just, we just kind of look at each other. We're like, what's happening right now? But most of the time we end up someplace really amazing.
But there's like the weird little things that happen that just... Yeah. Like the time we were in Costa Rica and Maya had, she had lice. Oh, and we had to go.
She's gonna be so embarrassed.
Sorry, but she was like a little kid.
She was.
And it was spreading around her school.
Yeah.
And we had to like go to this pharmacy in Costa Rica, and you were like drawing a picture of like bugs and hair to try to communicate.
I went up
and like we're like together trying to figure out how do we say this.
Yeah, because he had her, and I went up and I literally said, my daughter has cockroaches in her hair, and I need shampoo. Which is not how you say it. And it was so funny because the lady at the desk was like, piojos? And I was like, see? And she came back with like shampoo and a lice comb. And I was like, yes, that is what I need. And it's just like surviving.
It's like problem solving.
Kinds of things.
It's like, how do you solve these problems that are really, in the grand scheme of things, small, but in the moment, pretty big, and you got to figure it out. And depending on each other.
Yeah.
To figure out those problems helps you grow closer in your relationship with whoever you're with.
Yeah.
That's why Maya and I take these trips together every year, and we as a family always prioritized taking what started as one and then ended up being at least 2 international trips a year when we lived in the U.S. together to somewhere new, so we could like just bond and be together. So that's always been important to us.
Yeah.
And that leads to number 1.
Appreciate your life. We very much appreciate our lives. We're very lucky to have done all the traveling that we've done. We always fight about you've always been to the most countries, but I think we're all at about 50, 60 countries now. And it's just, but all of that traveling, I think it just makes you appreciate all of the opportunities that you have. It makes you appreciate the beautiful things that are around you, and
it gives you different perspectives as well. And it could, like, the spectrum of things that can help give you perspective is great. In some cases, it's like a castle in Denmark that I love, and it just like, I appreciate the chance to be standing there, and people are like, oh, you take great pictures. And I'm like, I did nothing. All I did was transport myself to stand in that spot
with a nice camera.
To be looking at this amazing thing.
Yeah.
And that I appreciate, but then I've also been to India a couple of times, and some places that just make you reflect upon, like, all that we're the privileges that we have being from Western countries and being in a just safe, great place, and seeing little kids Maya's age. The first time I went to India, I was by myself. It was with a school trip. I was in grad school, and Maya was like 2 or 3 maybe, and I'd see these 3-year-olds, and you're just like, well, it gives you a perspective of what it is for you and your opportunities, and what is life for other people, and it gives you an opportunity to appreciate, gain that perspective, and think maybe you should do things differently and appreciate what you have.
I remember going to Africa, and Maya saw for the first time people waiting in line for water. And there was this big long line, of people with all these huge empty jugs, and she was like, well, what are they doing? And I said, well, in, places like this, you have one source of water, and you have to walk for a long time to go get your water. And it's just little things like that, that really make you come back, and you're like, wow, we've really got it good here.
And it's really hard to gain that when you're not getting out.
Yeah, and I think even when you see it on the news, you're still somewhat removed from that.
It still feels like another
it still
world.
Feels fake.
But I've had like these really random things that make me realize the world is small. Another quick story. When we went to China in 2008, like right before the Olympics, and we lived in DC at the time, so I went to the embassy to apply for our visas in person. I didn't use a service because I could just go to the Chinese consulate. We went, and I was sitting next to a lady, and as you could probably tell if you've met me or see from here, I'll chat people up when I'm sitting, especially if I'm like waiting for like 45 minutes, talking to this lady who's also going to apply to get her visas, and I say, hey, if you see a little redhead, and because Maya was like, what, 4 when we went?
Almost
you see
5.
A little redhead running around China. There's not many, so it might be Maya. Say hi. And then, like, fast forward 3 or 4 weeks later, we're in China and we see that exact same lady who comes up to me on the other side of the world. And you're like, well,
That's
it feels
crazy.
like it's a lifetime away. But really, I mean, it actually is a smaller place. COVID made it not small again and made it all not accessible in terms of just being able to get on a plane and go places. But at that point, it was just like, wow, this is really... the things that you can do and the people you can see and the fact that you can randomly run into somebody that you've seen in another country in the other side of the world just tells you that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get that when you're just watching it through a TV. So now we try to bring as much of that as we can, as what we experience in Denmark, living here, through what we do here, because we know not everybody's going to get to go to all these places, but hopefully...
But that's why we get so excited about it,
And hopefully that'll encourage folks to want to try to go to some of these places, at least within Denmark, because there's so much to offer. So the last thing, it's not really in the top 5. I don't really like top 5 lists, because it's like hard to contain everything. It's just about getting these... all that adds up to experiences. And I had this saying where, people say that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's like a common thing that people say. My saying is I want to have as many once-in-a-lifetime experiences as I possibly can in my life, because then you're creating these memories that you can't take it away.
No,
it's there forever. Like, I have stories and memories of things
go on forever.
And I remember this stuff more than I remember what I did on a Saturday at home.
Yeah.
That comes and goes and feels like any other day.
I think I think back to our honeymoon, and we did so many wonderful things, but for me, like, one of the most wonderful things, and it has always stuck with me, is that we went on this little boat ride on the Nile in Luxor, and the guy who was the pilot, or whatever, captain, whatever you want to call him, he was quite young, and he was super, super nice, and he was really excited for us that we had just gotten married, and he invited us the next morning to come have tea with him. And he got up at the crack of dawn, because we were leaving really early, and he made us tea. And I will always, always remember that, having, like, sunrise tea on the Nile with this guy who was just super nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many of those kinds of things that I remember that just make up, hopefully, this, like, complex book of chapters and all the things that we've been able to do. And it's a picture book, because, who wants to read it all, of all these cool things that we just, like, try to do and make more accessible to people through our stories and our experiences and the things that we show. And hopefully, as technology allows more people to experience these things without even being able to maybe even travel, but still getting to see more. It's just, I mean, it's just so important to us, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
So this was just like a very raw. We have very few notes in front of us this time.
But it's something we're passionate about.
As you can tell, it's something, and I think about this stuff a ton.
Yeah.
And we're going to get out a little bit more, both within Denmark and then outside of Denmark as well, now that we can do more.
So please watch those videos.
Yeah, watch the non-Denmark videos too. We'll have a mix. I mean, we didn't shoot a ton in France because we also wanted to just visit friends like Yvadi and relax. And I got super sick, actually. I had like a stomach bug that didn't sit well one day, but I'll spare you from those details. Those are also memories. I can remember all the places around the world that I've gotten sick and thrown up.
All the trips.
Yeah, and it's happened more than once in France, by the way. I don't know. But anyway, we just want to share that with you guys. If you in the comments can tell us, what is your favorite travel experience that you've had? It would be great to hear, like, amazing. What kind of cool things did you experience that you'll never forget, that you'd like to do again, or you think other people should, that you'd want to share with folks? That'd be super cool. And I'm gonna like build up a non-Danish travel video right now that we've done. If people haven't seen when we went to Gdansk, Poland, which was our first trip,
I loved that.
One of our few trips we took after pandemic. It was so much fun. I'll link to it below. Gdansk is super cool, very accessible. Short flight from Copenhagen. I definitely recommend going. But let's just wrap it up there.
Yeah.
All right. Travel, guys. Traveling young.
Get out.
Bye.
Bye.